Imagine my surprise. Just imagine my surprise when I see the headlines about dump divers in the WNBA whining and complaining again. Imagine my surprise when I see that WNBA players are once again filing charges claiming that someone has violated the woke commandments. Imagine my surprise when I find out the charges are related to violations of mythical misogyny. Well, Casey, what about mythical racism? Don't those two charges go together when these vicious criminals criticize the dump? Yeah, normally that's the case, but there was just one problem, one tiny problem, with filing charges of mythical racism in this particular case. The defendants in this case are black men. This is an unfortunate case of black-on-black crime. WNBA players, along with their pretend friends in the mainstream media, they are trying their damnedest to create this environment where it is forbidden to criticize WNBA players. Well, let me correct myself. It's forbidden to criticize WNBA players not named Caitlin Clark. Criticizing the only star, criticizing the only player in this dump of a league that is capable of attracting a mainstream audience, that's all good. Criticizing Angel Reese and her elite skill of missing layups, criticizing Bob Griner for attempting to sneak Cheech and Chong into Mother Russia, calling the WNBA pretend basketball falling asleep in the courtside seats that cost pesos to obtain, those criticisms are no bueno. The pretenders, they might not be professional basketball players, but they are professional victims. The media thinks they are doing WNBA players a favor by forbidding them from being criticized, but the truth is they're actually hurting them. Because you don't learn anything when you're constantly being lied to. You don't learn anything from the media lying and constantly telling you how great you are, how the WNBA is elite basketball, how this is the best basketball in the world. WNBA players aren't learning anything from that because no one else believes it. No one is biting into that shit sandwich besides WNBA players themselves. Legitimate criticism, it gives you the opportunity to improve where you need to improve. If you have ever wasted 2 hours watching a game of pretend basketball, then you already know there is plenty of improvement needed in the dump. Now, of course, the players, they don't realize this because they're constantly being lied to. Even though it can hurt to hear it at the time, and the truth often does, criticism can actually be a good thing in the long term. For years, fans in the media complained about the length of Major League Baseball games. It was a legitimate criticism. This is not the 1980s where the only options on television are a painfully boring game between the Reds and the Pirates or reruns of The Price is Right. Regular season games in Major League Baseball, they had become a slog. It was a bad product for television. Now, to his credit, Rob Manfred, he listened to the criticism. Instead of whining and complaining and turning himself into the ultimate victim, Rob Manfred, he implemented a pitch clock. Major League Baseball games were shortened and more people were watching. David Stern did something similar with criticism of the NBA in the mid-2000s. During the early to mid-2000s, public perception of the NBA, it was overwhelmingly negative. Players were constantly getting arrested. You guys remember the Portland Jailblazers? The league was a symbol of hip-hop culture at the time, which was appealing to kids like me who were in their teens and 20s at the time, but it wasn't so appealing to the networks. It wasn't so appealing to corporate America. What did David Stern do? Did he lash out at the media? Did he accuse the critics of mythical racism? No! He implemented a dress code and he cleaned up the NBA's image. Criticism and feedback can be beneficial, but the only way it can benefit you is if you're willing to listen to it. Unfortunately for the WNBA, not only are their players not willing to listen, they seem to be allergic to criticism. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel in the description below. Today on the second channel, we talked about the desperate cash grab that's being promoted as a boxing match between Logan Paul and Conor McGregor. If you haven't already, head over to the second channel and subscribe. Former NBA player Jeff Teague, he now has a podcast called Club 520. I have no idea what the hell 520 means. Perhaps he was hanging out with Bob Griner when coming up with the name of his podcast. Maybe he inhaled some secondhand smoke and named it 520 instead of 420. Either way, the damn show's called Club 520. Over the weekend, the guest with Jeff Teague was some dude named Charleston White. Now, I had never heard of Charleston White before, but after watching several clips from this podcast, I'm going to assume Charleston White is a comedian. If he's not, he should be, because this dude could have a very lucrative career making fun of the WNBA dump. On this podcast, you got Jeff Teague, Charleston White, and two other dudes who I assume are the co-host. Now, that is very important to point out. This is four men talking amongst themselves. What do men do when women aren't around? The conversation is completely different. The jokes are different. The vernacular is different. The entire dynamic of the conversation is different. And look. I'm sure the same is true with the ladies too. When my wife goes to lunch or to dinner with her friends and it's four women at the table with no dudes, I guarantee you, they are talking about things that they wouldn't be talking about if the men were at the table. So Charleston White's hanging out with the boys. He's doing his thing. He's making jokes. Jeff Teague, he starts talking about the WNBA. They were talking about who was the better player between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. I think the answer is rather obvious. Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark can make three-point shots from the logo. Angel Reese can't make three-point shots standing right underneath the basket. But as Jeff Teague was giving his analysis, Charleston White, he started making jokes about Angel Reese and the WNBA. Keyword, jokes. You know, comedy, the thing that is supposed to make you laugh. It's supposed to entertain you. It's also not supposed to be taken seriously. As a comedian, as a performer, I'm assuming that Charleston White was doing what he was paid to do. He was invited on this podcast. They started talking about Angel Reese and the WNBA, and he started to make jokes. Watch it for yourself.
I think Angel Reese want to sell pussy. Yeah, I think Angel Reese really don't want to play basketball. I think she want to sell pussy.
No.
She trying to look, Chuck.
She coming out too sexual.
Dub, no, I ain't gonna let you do that one.
You ain't?
She's trying to. I'm trying to have us at the WNBA All-Star.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's your take.
Now, B.A. don't never defend the WNBA, so for him to do this, I love this.
I think she's just trying to make sure she don't look like a dude. Like she's trying to keep it like I'm a
She's trying to brand outside of basketball.
Yeah, like I'm a woman. I like men.
It's so many. It's a WNBA player that look like me and you. So she's trying to make it seem like
more girly.
Yeah,
she's trying to make it more like you can still be attracted to.
You ain't got to be left-handed to play the W. Basically, what she's saying.
It's a Charleston White and a B here on the FIFA right there.
Ooh,
she's trying to switch the narrative, bro.
I'll take that, dude.
And they dress it like this.
I'll take that. But I still think she need to do OnlyFans, like Shaq said. She need to dunk in her panties. Shaq told her that. Shaq told her she needed to go dunk in her panties. I'm with Shaq.
Shaq didn't say that. He was out of pocket.
Shaq is wild for saying that.
Y'all, stop.
I'm with you, Shaq. I'm with you. Some lace panties. Not no boy shorts. I'm with you, Shaq.
Johnson said not the boy shorts?
Nah, dunk in some panties with no bra on.
I don't know about you guys, but I thought that short clip was a hell of a lot more entertaining than the entire WNBA season. I know Charleston White and the WNBA are two different genres of comedy, so it's not exactly a fair comparison. Charleston White is more of a stand-up comedian who tells jokes, while the WNBA features physical comedy where people laugh at airball dunks and failed attempts to dribble between the legs. Me personally, I thought Charleston White's comedy was better. Not the players in the WNBA, though. No! No! Not only did they not appreciate Charleston White's comedy, multiple WNBA players, they accused him of misogyny. Sydney Colson, one of the hundreds of unknown players in the WNBA, she accused Charleston White of being sexist. Lexie Brown, she accused him of disrespecting women, and she also claimed, "I'm living in fear. I'm so scared. If these misogynists are having these conversations in public, imagine what they're saying behind closed doors." Oh! It would be one thing if these complaints were a one-off, but this is a trend. This is a pattern of behavior in the WNBA. Anytime this league gets criticized, the players complain. Anytime someone criticizes the substandard product, the players complain. You can't have it both ways. For decades, the WNBA has been begging to be noticed. They have been begging for mainstream attention. You got to remember, up until last year, most people had forgotten that the WNBA even existed. Now, they finally have mainstream attention and recognition. Problem is, they only want positive attention. They only want analysts like Monica McDougal or Monica McNutt, whatever the hell her name is, the lady that tried to humiliate Stephen A. Smith on First Take and ended up getting fired. That's who the WNBA wants covering their league. They only want people who will cover the league in a positive light. Translation: WNBA players don't want people covering the league who are willing to tell the truth. Like I said, you can't have it both ways. You can't try to cancel someone every time they're critical of your dump. You can't create this atmosphere where it's forbidden to be critical of your league. Because what will end up happening, no one will cover the WNBA. It's not the NFL. It's not the NBA. The media doesn't need the WNBA to pay the bills. Was Charleston White vulgar? Yes. Was he crude? Sure. But you know what else he was? Funny and entertaining. Comedians, they make jokes about white people. I laugh. Comedians make jokes about Donald Trump. I laugh. Throughout the season, I have been highly critical of the NFL and the NBA. Hell, I have been critical of the NBA for years now. How come WNBA players think they are the only ones exempt from the same criticism? How come WNBA players think they're exempt from the same jokes? You tell me, because I cannot think of another league that is this sensitive. Sound off in the comments below. Best way to contact me is through email, btlkc84@gmail.com. I'll see you guys tomorrow.